90 of Elvin playing in a sentimental mood.
Start with AC Delco aftermarket parts that are backed by General Motors, using the same quality process as all GM original
Solo
equipment
played
parts.
entirely with brushes.
There is this place of vulnerability from which
But even when Elvin would play with
truly
regular drumsticks,
transformative
he would
action
often
must
play
come
using the
from.
button
Oh, he's got
of
a
the
double
stick
bass.
in the left hand, and sometimes even in the right hand as well. Here's a clip where you can see Elvin playing using the button of the stick in the
He's
left
got a
hand.
double bass. He's got a double bass. Does he? Yeah, he's got a double bass.
All of these things combined with Elvin's master.
So he's already doing what I wanted. He has a
completely
20
unique
inch
sound that would change the direction of jazz drumming.
and an 18 inch. He's got a 20 over here and an 18 over there. I want the same thing. I wanted that same setup. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, Dean,
That gave him such a fresh and unique sound was his use of polyrhythms.
he had a 20 inch. I just didn't have the gear for it. I didn't have the hardware. I don't know. I'm looking back and I think I did. You know what? I didn't have the money. That's what it was. I didn't have the money. I wanted to, but I didn't have the money.
Without this particularly
This idea of polyrhythmic playing can be heard in countless examples of Elvin's playing. Here's an example of Elvin playing some 3D phrases in a 4/4 context, which is something he did all the time.
to be moved by a truth
Here's a similar idea from Resolution, which is part 2 of The Love Supreme. In this one, Elvin and McCoy Tyner outline a repeating 3-beat phrase together on drums and piano. Or in the bridge of 3-Card Molly, where Elvin is playing on the toms with different rhythms.
How do I get that over there?
Elvin would commonly use several layers of polyrhythms all at the same time. According to jazz drummer John McCaslin, who took notes during the masterclass I mentioned earlier, Elvin explained how these were the actual exercises that he himself had and they allowed him to develop his unique style of jazz drumming. According to Elvin, these exercises are the basis of his polyrhythmic approach to timekeeping. Here's what they sound like.
trees and a real forgiveness for the complexity of human beings and the contracted side of it.
All right, I gotta switch some stuff around. What's going on? I gotta switch some stuff around because I need that other Mac turned on to do what I really want to do, which means I need another pair of monitor speakers.
Developing harmonic capacity for spacious
Speaking of polyrhythms,
I already have a pair there, another pair there. I have a pair of Aventones.
Here's 2 examples.
I have a pair of Mackies. So I already have 1, 2, 3, 4 pair. I need another pair. I have another interface right there. Bought that one. What I'm talking about is this thing.
Has you back. Plans start at $9.95 a month. Get fast, reliable home internet from Xfinity.
The first time you try Bounce, it hits you. Your laundry feels way fresher, softer, with less static and wrinkles. So you start to wonder.
That Mac. That Mac needs its own set of monitors. It already has an interface That white one,
But professional software
that
better
is an old MacBook, but it has a 1 terabyte solid state drive. It's got like 12 gigs of RAM. It's totally, I totally gutted it out, and it's pretty much as fast as a MacBook Pro. It's got Pro Tools, Logic, it's got Final Cut, it's got Adobe Audition, it's got a Adobe, what's the video? It's got everything on it. You could literally just film and process a complete music video from that laptop. As a matter of fact, that's what that was used for. That was used to record the audio and film the video for videos.
YouTube
You know?
Premium is ad-free YouTube. And
So that's why I got hot rodded.
So,
But
cooking shows as you eat airplane food.
I just got this
YouTube
one,
Premium. It's
and
way
that one I have to hot rod.
Got 1 month on us.
I want to put a 2 terabyte solid state drive. This has 32 gigs of RAM. I want to bump it up even higher. There's a Mac Mini right there that I need to. No, I already did upgrade. I put a 2 terabyte drive in that. This one,
I can't feel a relationship.
I'm gonna put a 1 terabyte drive in that. That'll be for
drumming is
just to have it.
I would say.
To be honest, just to have it.
I feel like I still need more.
But I'm going to.
Oh, man.
Dave Liebman recalls a conversation with Elvin Jones asking how many times he played My Favorite Things with the Coltrane Quintet. And Elvin replied, "We played
I'm
it
doing
every
a
night
movie.
for 5 years.
Doing- what do you mean a movie?
Like there would be no tomorrow. Like it would be
Kenny
the last
Smith?
time we played it." And
Kenny the
with
Jet?
experience and consistency, it's pretty clear how Elvin was his
Oh, who's
greatest
that? Hi, how you?
Not to mention
You're a local what? Oh, girl, get out of here.
hours he accumulated before working with John Coltrane. According to Elvin's longtime saxophonist Pat Barbara, Elvin loosened up the time and
Oh,
he had the ability
that's
to
the
move up the music and lead the
one.
band when it came to time and feel.
That's the one. That guy right there is a insane drummer. The guy with the black dude with the hat on.
Elvin played relaxed
Him.
on recordings like Speak No Evil and Feet.
He's a former child prodigy. The dude is.
You can play the drum and you can also play bass.
He's on something else. He's on something completely different.
Sample buds for anything.
He's talking about sampling, but dude, the dude
It's just kind
is
the
wild.
drums as more of a
You know.
melodic kind of instrument. Thinking a bit more kind of orchestrally.
Elvin was also
I've
known
actually
for the way
had
he
dreams
played
where I was
in a
playing drums
3/4
and
waltz
sounded like
context.
a-
Here are a few examples.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's also exciting to think about creating your own sound. Using this as like a platform for your own creation.
Lighting more, and it's like,
We even hear examples of Elvin playing on time on tracks like
I
5/4
love the fact that I
Thing
can
and Siete
also play the
Ocho.
sticks. I can play the rim, I can play here, I can play there, so it's not just on the drum head.
Elvin also explored the world of Afro-Cuban and Latin-inspired grooves, and these can be heard on some of his most iconic tracks. So I'm going to demo a few of them for you, starting with the famous Elvin Jones Afro Waltz. So Elvin will improvise a ton within this sort of groove framework, but here's 2 variations that you can get started with.
Sensory percussion is really taking the drum set as an instrument into modern music.
Ah,
Sensory percussion makes me feel
Gretsch, baby.
Here's one from the song Passion Dance.
Do I?
by Toy Tyner,
What
which
kind of
features
editing?
Elvin's famous Mongo-style grooves in the bridge section.
All right, this is a little close for you guys. I want you guys to
This
see
next one is
everything.
a look at
Everything.
by Pepper called The
I want
Trek,
you to
which
see
features a video
everything.
involving all four limbs
All right,
in
there.
the
That's a little
section.
better. Is it? I don't know. All right, hold on.
And lastly, let's
Yo,
two grooves from one of my all-time favorite records, A Love Supreme.
Oh, this old
The
girl.
first groove is what Elvin plays right when Jimmy Garrison's bass line comes in during part one.
She has weird time. I like the whole pocket queen thing, but she doesn't have solid time. You know, she doesn't have like really solid, like the pocket queen. I'm very opinionated. I'm sorry. She doesn't have, but she doesn't have solid. Concept is good, but she doesn't have, like, her time is not. And that's not because she's a woman, because there are female drummers that will smoke her. There are female drummers that will smoke me on drums. Straight up. Terry Lynn Carrington, right there. I'll just throw it out there. She'll smoke her, and she'll smoke a lot of dudes out there on drums. Terry Lynn Carrington.
So Elvin plays a ton of really cool.
And we're the exact same age. Oh, yes.
I've actually transcribed the entire drum part, and it's available inside of the Drummy Members area right now. So you can see exactly what he plays in every part of the song. You can slow down his parts, you can loop them. Speaking from personal experience, sometimes it's really tough to hear exactly what's going on when you're listening to Elvin. So I highly recommend checking it out. You can click the link right below this video or the button right here on screen to start the 7-day free trial of Drummy. Beyond this type of playing, Elvin also explored the world of
This is
jazz
kind of weird because I have
in the
two
70s, as you can
mouses
hear
that I'm working with.
on the mountain.
I just need this open.
Like we talked about earlier, Elvin was also quite adept at playing in softer scenarios as well. This is heard in his brush playing on tracks like You Are Too Beautiful, which features his two brothers, Thad Jones on cornet and Hank Jones on piano. Or in true Elvin fashion, he can also play with more power and volume like on this track. And to tie all of these examples together in Elvin's own words, fundamentally, nothing has changed in timekeeping, but we have become more aware of the possibilities of the drum set. Perhaps
I remember
one of the
this.
aspects of Elvin's
I gotta put
playing
drums
is
to this.
bombastic, spontaneous, and creative drum solos. His vocabulary was also very rooted in the rudimental tradition. Elvin even said that his time serving and playing in the U.S. Army Band helped him to build his roots.
Oh my God, I remember this. Why am I not putting anything to it? All right, you guys. I'll let you hear what it really sounds like. Test. Ooh, that's loud. Test. Test. There we go. A little louder. Just don't feedback. There we go. Test. Test. How much would I charge you? That's kind of hard to say. It depends on what you want to learn. What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn audio engineering? Do you want to learn drums? Do you want to learn, how to create samples? Do you want to learn how to play, because I play 4 instruments, and subsequently, I make my own, I'll make a song and just sample the song. I'll play the guitar part, play the drums, play the bass, and have whatever keyboard part is in it. And if there's a certain part that has a nice groove, I'll sample my own stuff, and I might speed it up or slow down, But, I can definitely show you how to do all that stuff. That stuff's easy. Well, it's easy. It's easier than you think, actually. It is easy. And I'm not being I don't know. I'm not being fake or anything. It really is easy. A lot of, I'll say, oh man, that was Gerald Clayton. Hold on. That's Gerald Clayton. Oh, snap. I didn't know he played with Gerald Clayton. I don't know if you guys can hear it. But yeah, in terms of video editing, I don't really know about video editing. I know how to edit my videos, but I'm not hey, can I pay you to edit my video? I'm not that kind of guy. I know how to edit my own stuff. I've learned enough to be able to edit my own stuff. And I usually keep it kind of simple. But I could show you whatever, that's part of why I started this channel, because I know a lot, man. I had to figure out everything I know on my own, and this was before YouTube. I had to figure it out on my own. I had to figure out how to play drums on my own, how to play the guitar on my own, how to play bass on my own. I had to learn about gear on my own. I had to I had to learn about song structure. I had to teach myself how to play, how to read music. I had to do everything on my own. You know what I mean? And then I had to, nobody told me about multi-track recording. Nobody taught me. I knew about it. Nobody taught me. So I'm dating myself, but I bought a Fostex 8-track and figured it out, And then when it went to digital, it was oh, it's just a simpler version. The only difference is when you're doing analog, the louder it is, the better it sounds because of saturation. That's how human ears are. Whereas the digital domain, the more quiet it is, the better it sounds. You know what I mean? But we've even gone to a certain, you could create something in a digital domain and just run it to tape and just run that real loud. So you can, there's ways to do it, and people do that with cassettes. That's when I want to start going into hybrid setups, half analog, half digital, I know both, so why not just, use them both. But, I could. Yes, it's my daughter. Huh? Yes, I can. Hold on, guys. Oh, the milk. Oh, Mama, I'm sorry. got work to do, a lot of work to do. I don't even think that's all of it. All right, but yeah, so I don't know. I got accepted to Atlanta Institute of Music, but I just couldn't do it at the time. It was just too much. We had a brand new baby boy. Well, he wasn't brand new. By the time I went there, he was like maybe 5 months old. That we had just moved into a house. My wife had just gone back to school to get her master's. So, at the time we had 2 other kids. We had 3 kids, Now we have 4, but at the time we had 2 and like a 5-month-old, 6-month-old. So life was kind of hectic. And I was in transition I was wondering if I should still, because I used to do BMX, like freestyle. I used to have a half pipe in my backyard with a deck, like an 8-foot half pipe. Then I had side ramps and I had all kinds of stuff, Plus, not far from where I live in Metro Atlanta, there was Woodward. So I would go to Woodward and train, regularly. So I was coming to a point where I was like BMX or music. And I chose music because music was there before BMX. It just was. Music was there when I was 3. Yeah, I was about 3 when I discovered music. I discovered BMX through skateboarding. I used to skate a lot, and then I just got into BMX, and I liked it because, you could fly higher, it was more dangerous, and, I couldn't afford a motorcycle. I couldn't afford a dirt bike, so yeah, and again, I got accepted, but I just couldn't do it. It was just too much going on. There was a lot going on. So and at the time, a lot of Atlanta Institute of Music guys would come to my house. They would come here because at the time I had a 7-piece kit set up over there and a jazz kit set over here, and they were both mic'd up. Right here was a giant console. Yeah, this was a console. Okay. That was a giant let me switch this. Test. There we go. It was a giant console, like a 64-channel console there. And guys from Atlanta Institute of Music, the way they would get gigs, my name got known. I would test my skills against those guys. Cause I'm like, at the time I slowed down on gigging because life was lifing. So aside from shedding, I would kind of gauge myself. I would go to the local guitar center and go in the drum department. And then dudes from Atlanta Institute of Music either worked there or they were always coming in. And I would just go up there and shed with those guys. And they'd be like, holy smokes, what are you doing? And I'm like, okay, I feel, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I still got some kind of skill. And then we would just kick it. And I'd be like, yo, bro, I got a whole recording rig, 2 drum sets set up, bass amps, guitar amps. I got guitars, basses, everything. Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton. I think Ableton just came out at the time. I had FL Studio. I still got it. FL Studio, Ableton, Studio One. I still got Studio One. So I was just all over the place. Like I had the full setup. I still got the full setup. It's less gear, but it's quality. Definitely sounds a lot better. Um, the what do you call it? The pre's, the mic pre's, and the mic choices. I got definitely better mics. Back then, I had a lot of stuff, but a lot of the mics were cheap. Now I have less stuff, but a lot of the mics are really, really good. Um, but they were really cheap. I tell everybody, start off with cheap gear because the key is you could. I messed up. I bought a lot of gear, and a lot of times I bought that gear not knowing how. I just didn't, the gear don't really do it. You got to know what you're doing in terms of your miking technique. The techniques you use. You got to know what you're doing. You know, um, and in terms of your miking technique and how things are panned. That's no, I'm not even gonna talk about that. But everything is miking technique, mic placement. Because a good mic will never replace a well-placed microphone set at the optimal place, you know what I mean, where the object itself has the best sound. That's just the facts. That sounds corny and whatever, but that's the facts. A good mic will never replace a bad room. And the difference between a good room and a bad room is the person who's in the room, he doesn't know where the good spot is in that room. You gotta walk around with a drum and be like, bing, nope, that sounds bad. Bing, nope, walk around the room, bing. And I noticed this because that drum set that I have right here, always sounded like way better than the other drum set that I had that was set up over here. Where that red couch is. I don't know what it is at that spot where these drums are. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it just sounds the best. So that's a part of the reason why I don't have it, because I have two more sets. That's why I don't have another set up over there. I think it was kind of overkill and all of that. But I would have guys come over from Atlanta Institute of Music, And then my name got around in Atlanta Institute of Music, to the point where, like, dudes would come over and be like, yo, because I would be like, I had guitarists from over there. I would see him, I would go out and open jams and see them dudes. And then I'd see him at, what do you call it, Guitar Center. And they'd be like, yo, man, I saw you at an open jam. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, yo, man, I got a spot around the corner, bro. Matter of fact, if you want to record, you can record there. Because I'm like, I don't care. If they want to record here, I can test out my skills. They'll be my guinea pigs. So for a while, I had guys from Atlanta Institute of Music in and out of this place. To the point where they would be like, yo, I'm trying to get gigs. Can I come to your house and record? You film me, you video me, and have me and I would literally, they bring a track. 90% of the time they brought a track. I'll bring a track, and I would record them, playing and video them playing along to the track. You know what I mean? And I send them the link, and they will put it up on YouTube, and that would be their YouTube videos, and they would come here regularly and do YouTube videos, because dudes were coming from out of town to Atlanta to go to school here. So it was kind of like, and they, it was a wait. You could do that at Atlanta Institute of Music, but it's like you got other students in front of you. You know what I mean? As opposed to some dude around the corner that got the full setup, got the same setup as them over there, and you got free reign. So, I had a lot of dudes coming here. And for a while, that kind of sustained me in terms of my playing. Um, but and then I just got really. I was always into recording, and then like a couple of them dudes got pretty big gigs. One plays for a pretty big church, another plays for a country band, um, which is dope. He's always on tour. He's always. I think he might have moved to Nashville, but he's always on tour. He's always like he's doing his thing, man, out there in Nashville. I almost went to Nashville not long ago, but my oldest daughter's in college. My oldest son he goes to a STEM school here. I don't want to take him out. My younger son, he's in school here. He's 13. He's in school. And my youngest daughter, who's 10, they got friends here, man. They got relationships here. So as much as I'd like to leave Atlanta, man, I can't do it. I can't do it. No way. I can't. Much as I want to, I can't. But I'm able. You know what I mean? I can't do it. Not able. So I don't know, man. And then I randomly met this guy, a guitarist. He had this ad, and he said he's looking for jazz musicians for a jazz jam. And when people say jazz, I'm like, do you really mean jazz, or you just mean some kind of like Fish, Grateful Dead, rock and roll improvisation? And that's not jazz, that's rock and roll improvisation. And there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of guys, go to jam band music because of the improvisational element of it. But that's different than jazz. You know what I mean? That's a whole idiom, a whole language in and of itself. And people throw it out thinking it's impressive, and it's really not. It's not impressive at all. But he provided links to the stuff he was doing. And which is, I was like, okay, because I was doing that for dudes from AIM. They posted up on their social media, and that's how they would get gigs. So I said, okay, and it sounded pretty dope. I listened to the drummer. I was like, yeah, he kind of on the sloppy side. I could do better. I'm always like that. That's the first thing. That's not pride. I'm like, okay, I can do better. Like, I can do better. And that's not making a grand statement. I heard him. I can do better. So I was like, but I heard the other musicians. I think the drummer was the weak link. I heard the other musicians. I was like, ooh, okay. Everybody else knows their stuff. This is fun. So I went there, and at first I was nervous. I was like, man, I don't know, man. Did I bite off more than I could chew? Am I really good enough? I don't know, man. I went through the whole imposter syndrome and the self-doubt. And then my wife literally pulled out the dictionary and said, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. I think it's imposter syndrome. And she opened the dictionary and read the definition of an imposter. Something who pretends to do something and they have no knowledge of it, and they're only doing it for nefarious purposes. She said, do you have knowledge of drums? I said, yeah. She goes, are you trying to swindle or hoodwink these guys that you're going to play with? I said, no. She goes, then why would you consider yourself an imposter? She's like, you're not an imposter. She's like, I hear you play drums every day. Like, everybody and their mother tells you, man, you're really good at drums. So why don't you believe that you're really good at drums? And I was like, wow, okay. So I listened to my wife, and I went there, and that place was smoking. I was like, okay. And I did pretty decent. I heard the playback. I was like, Some of the stuff I was like, you know. But there was some sparks of greatness in it. So you're probably going to hear a lot more of me in band settings. Matter of fact, you're gonna. Now, what I want to do is, people are funny about being filmed. So we're already, the guy who's jamming is the guitarist. He's already recording the audio. You walk in, you're going to be recorded. He's got a full recording setup. He's got pretty much what I got, drum set and everything. You know what I mean? You walk in, he's the same thing as me. You don't wear any shoes. You walk in, he's like, I hope, you don't mind, this is a barefoot household. I said, I don't mind. We have a barefoot household. So, I mean, like, I have a gym right there, and it's mandatory you put something on your feet. That's why there's various pairs of sneakers there. But the rest of the house, no. Like where the weights are, the squat rack and all that stuff. You got plates that will crush your foot. So, a gym is not a no shoes area. So, but yeah, so I walked in. I literally walked in. I went there with these on. I was like, whatever. So, walked in, kicked off my slides, and started playing. And it was kind of like it was like, I see. This is how. Okay, I'm in a situation where I can kind of stretch out. As a matter of fact, the first song we started playing, me and the guitarist, he starts throwing me solos. So he's like, hey. He looks at me like this weird cheesy grin, like. So I'm like, okay, I guess that means solo. It's weird sign language. So I play this little solo, and I'm like, okay. And he plays a solo. And he looks at me. I'm like, oh, man, you want to keep doing this all night? So I play another solo. And I'm like, okay. And he plays another solo. I'm like, all right, what the heck is going on? So then I'm like, I got to dig in my bag. Because now I got to dig in the Rolodex of riffs and way I want to approach things and stuff like that. Because I haven't. It's weird because if you're not in a situation like that, it's use it or lose it. When I was playing a lot of straight ahead, it was nothing for me to just, but when you're away from that for a while, that ability, like, because you may have different approaches at your disposal because you're always using them. You have different riffs or different inversions, that you just have. You have your book is always open because you're always pulling from a page. As opposed to when you start playing rock, you start playing R&B, you start playing gospel. I'll even give you gospel. Even though gospel is improvisational, it ain't that ain't it. It ain't just pulling from a Rolodex of stuff that you got every night. It's not that. You got a set amount. So even if you're playing improvisational rock, same thing. Although improvisational rock is more of a groove-based thing, which makes it it makes it less. When you're playing improvisational rock, there is a Rolodex that you have to pull from. You get that tickle in your throat. But gospel, there's really no Rolodex. It's just, I need you to chop it up right here. Or
How about this drum solo? Or there are songs with drum solos. Like, period. There are songs that we have that are older than us. These songs are old. And the way we arranged them, they got a drum solo. And it's like, so, we don't play it every Sunday, but we play it regularly. So there are certain things that, like, I'm expected to play chops. Whereas jazz, you're not expected to play chops. You're expected to have chops but not play them. That's the best way to put it. You're expected to have chops but not play them. And they can tell the difference. They can tell the difference between someone who's playing jazz and really doesn't have the chops behind it and someone who's playing jazz effortlessly because they have the chop. They can tell. You can tell the difference. Because I was the first one. I was one of them until I kind of built up. Now it's kind of like, whatever. And that takes... You see this guy. He's on a jazz drum kit. He's killing it. I don't know if you guys can see it. No, you definitely can't see it. But, it takes... this is Greg Hutchinson. It takes a lot, man. It takes a lot of brain power. Even if you can get the most insane, you can get Joey Jordison. I don't care who you get. R.I.P. Joey. And he's not, he ain't got it. He ain't got it. Not that he couldn't get it if he, because if he got that high, if he became that great, and he's as a metal drummer, they're transferable skills. He could have done it. If he wanted to go to jazz, he could have did it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Bonham. Bonham wanted to play R&B, he could have easily did it. Bonham wanted to play jazz, he could have easily did it. But could he? Nope. Could Joey Jordison play jazz? Nope. Because he spent all that time on metal. And I use that as great as he is. It's a language, man. It's a language that has changed drastically, especially if you're a drummer. It's changed. The language of drums now, you gotta play. Like, there are drummers now, man. Like, if you look at guys like Matt Garska, he plays for Chan and Animals as Leaders. I know he's done some work with Chan. I don't know how much, but he definitely plays for Animals as Leaders. All that metal stuff he plays and all that rock stuff he plays, he can do all that stuff with jazz. I've seen him do it. I've literally seen. I saw him doing it when he's like 16. He's playing in metal bands, playing in his dad's fusion band, playing in Latin bands, and playing in straight ahead jazz bands. I saw Matt Garska do it. There are YouTube videos of him doing it. But every guy ain't like that. You got guys like that, but a lot of them aren't playing. Well, they are. I can't say that. Because Ronald Bruner was playing with suicidal tendencies for years. And he's played with, Thundercat's a little different. Thundercat is like psychedelic soul rock music. But Thomas Pridgeon, he plays jazz, he plays fusion, and he plays rock. As a matter of fact, the black community, we knew about him from Gospel Chops. That's how we knew about Thomas Pridgeon. The white community and the rest of the world knew about Thomas Pridgeon from the Mars Volta when he was smashing on them, and he was like killing on the Mars Volta. You know what I mean? That's where the rest of the world, we knew about him. We already knew he was fire, and he was wild. So it was kind of like for us, when I saw him with the Mars Volta, I was like, oh, come on, man, this makes sense. It makes sense, But he's the same dude that plays Latin music. I think Aspario He's a YouTube drummer. He's a rock and roll guy. He's like a metal rock and roll guy. He just got that gig. He did an announcement on his page that he got that gig. Well, the first person that had that gig was Thomas Pridgen. Thomas Pridgen had that gig. He left the Mars Volta and he went there. He toured with them. They're a Latin band. And then he left, and Tony Royster, who used to play with Jay-Z, he took the drum gig. And then once Tony Royster did it for years. And Aspario is the third guy. You know what I mean? Which, that's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit, man. It's a perfect fit. I think he's going to be murdering. I can't remember the name of the band, man. But the first person that toured with them was Thomas Pridgen. You know what I mean? And then he does a lot for like a lot of Oakland, because that's where he lives. A lot of LA and Oakland people. But Thomas Pridgen is another one. He plays everything, bro. He plays everything. Tony Royster, he plays everything. Ronald Bruner plays everything. Mike Mitchell, who got his fame from, although he played with Chrisette Michele, and he got his fame from Stanley Clarke, before he was with Chrisette Michele, he was playing with in metal bands. So he played metal, and he played straight ahead. You know, so he's another one. Mike Mitchell, he can do it all. You know, Justin Brown, he's another one who can do it all. Mark Giulietta, whatever his name is, out of Jersey, stand-up Jersey. He can do it all. You know, there aren't a lot of guys out there that can do it all. There aren't a lot, and those have always been the guys who I aspire to congregate with. You know, but do it all well. Do it all to the point where you'd be like, oh, he's a great rock drummer. And then you see him in a jazz setting, you'd be like, what? I didn't. What? Or if people see you in jazz, they're like, wow, okay, whatever. And they see you playing rock, and it's like, what? I didn't know you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just as well, you know. I don't like the one-sided, I only play this. You're not to me, you're not a complete musician. If you only play one style, you're not a complete musician, you know. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's, I don't know. I just don't, I feel like you're not, and I'm not the only person that feels that way. I'm not the only person. There are other people, some won't say it out loud, some will. You know, like I've heard Dennis Chambers say that. He was like, he was like, you're not a musician. I'm like, I won't say that. I won't say a person's a not. He said, you're not a musician. You're just blah, blah, blah. You only play one style? And I was like, I don't know, man, because they are musicians. They play music. So, but I understand what he's saying. One-sided musicians aren't complete musicians. That's what he was trying to say. Because they're not. They're not complete musicians. You know. And trust me, I only played rock. You know. You know. It was a point in time where I only played rock. And then I started playing jazz. And I only played rock and jazz. And I definitely saw the advantage of it. And it just made me want to play more. But I started off playing rock only. That's it. You know, and I learned everything else afterwards, you know. I learned gospel in 05, 06. I learned R&B in like 05, 06. Probably like 06. You know, I learned that stuff fairly recently. You know what I mean? The whole gospel chop stuff, I wasn't brought up in that. I was brought up in jazz and rock. That's it. You know, especially if you up north. If you're like even now it's different up north. When I came up, wasn't no gospel. It wasn't popping like that. It didn't really start popping until it was bubbling. It was bubbling in like the 90s, the mid 90s. It was bubbling. and it stayed bubbling until like the late 90s. The irony about gospel chop style drumming, it actually started in New Jersey by a guy named Jeff Lowe Davis. He played for the Richard Smallwood Band or choir, Richard Smallwood Choir. Richard Smallwood was a gospel artist. And there was a live Richard Smallwood album where Jeff Lowe Davis played on it. And all of the triplet bass, all that, all the triplet bass stuff, that was a local New Jersey style. That was a style that they had in New Jersey. And that's just how it was played. I didn't know it at the time. I found all this out from, they did a Modern Drummer interview of him. And they asked him, because the interviewer was like, well, you're known as the first shot heard around the gospel drummer world. Like, you're the first guy. The interviewer said that to him. And he was like, yeah. And he acknowledged it. He was like, yeah. He was like, well, how'd you come up with it? He said, really, man, because the interviewer actually described the situation, and then and then the guy answered it. Like, he talked about, hey, in 1989 or something like that, 1989 or something, he did this on this live album and this and that and blah, 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 when Jeff Lowe Davis was playing it. And they said, how did you come up with the style that you played on that album, because it was different than your studio stuff? He said, well, that was a local New Jersey style. He said, that's how we played in New Jersey. And they were from like, I think Englewood, New Jersey, somewhere like that. I think they were from like Englewood, New Jersey. Richard Smallwood. Either or probably like New Brunswick. It sounds more like New Brunswick. But, I didn't know all that stuff. So, and I'm from Jersey, so, but those guys are older than me, so, but, yeah, man, when I came up, it wasn't really, like, outside of that, man, like, everybody in the South knew about Jeff Lowe Davis. Everybody up north, we didn't know about him. We didn't, unfortunately. He got a lot of love out west. He got a lot of love in the South because of the gospel music and all of that. But, like, up north, he didn't really, up north is kind of irreligious. You know what I mean? So, but J. Poe, Julian Pollock. But, yeah, I'm about to see what my kids are doing. 8:42. They should be on their Zooms. I'll be back.
Test, test. There we go. Now I can hear myself. I've heard a lot about this guy on drums, but I don't like him. I don't know why. I'm not really. I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. And he's good, man. Evidently, he's playing with Hadrian Farrow, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the music. I don't know. 'Cause I've seen this guy smoke. Hey, yo, my man. Hey, Randy. I actually went to Bible college. I'm a gospel drummer. If you're going to evangelize, you got to have a different approach, bro. Because that's offensive. Befriend people and allow them to see your life. Because even when you come at, like, a Christian, they're going to be like, why would you assume that I'm not a Christian? You know? And if you're speaking to a non-Christian, like, the scripture is not going to do anything for them. They don't believe. So your best bet is to live your life as faithful to the Bible and its precepts as possible. And that is your witness to others. I've earned more people to Christianity by them seeing my life and me being like, oh, by the way, I'm a Christian, and me leading with, oh, I'm a Christian. You know what I mean? So that's a lesson from a almost 30-year-old, almost a Christian of almost 30 years. You know, the general concept is people don't want to hear. They don't want to hear what you got to say. They don't want to hear scriptures. They want to hear your life. They want to see. They want to see your life lived out. And you know what? If you just live your life, people will notice, like, hey, you know what? He doesn't curse. And I'm going from personal experience. Like, man, this dude don't curse. Seems like a regular dude. You know, I've met like LGBTQ people, and they're like, you know, people who are in that community, they're like, I've never met a Christian like you. Like, I know how you feel, you know, but you're accepting. I'm like, yeah, I you know, I'm a sinner as well. Like, who am I to judge you on sin? You know, it's, you know, no sin is worse than the other. Like, you know, all sin is the same in the eyes of God. Whether you are same-sex attracted or you stole a piece of candy from Walmart, it's all sin. You're all going to the same place. You know, so I have a lot to say about Christianity. I love Christianity. I am a Christian. I don't necessarily wear it on my sleeve, but if you ask me, and if we get in a conversation, I have a lot to say. Now, in terms of how I approach the world, I approach the world the way Jesus would. You know, he wasn't beating people in the head. You know, the Bible. You know, he just lived as an example. It's easy to go to the Word. I'm telling you, it's easy. It's easy to go to the Word. That's the easy. That's a beginner Christian thing. You're a newbie at this. That's easy. It's easy to memorize scripture. That's the easy thing. Are you living it? Okay, that's the next step. Are you living? Are you living it? Then here's the hard part. Now you have to conquer your mind. Take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. Okay? So it's more than just John 3:16. John 3:16 to an atheist means nothing. How do you live your life? How do you present yourself to the world? Do you live by what you claim to profess? Do you live by that? Or do you give yourself slack, but you make judgment towards other people? Judgment is sin. You don't have the right. Only God does. The Bible says that. The Bible says God's word will judge you, not you, not people. God's word. God and his word will judge people. We have no business to say so. Our job is to make disciples of all nations, you know, sharing the gospel and teaching them to do
Giulia
everything
J3PO
we've
Pollack
been taught
Trio
to
qui
do.
sul palco di Melon on Stage in questo appuntamento speciale di martedì
Teaching
3
others
ottobre.
people to
Appuntamento
do
speciale reso possibile
operative
anche
word.
grazie
Do
all'impegno e al contributo di
everything
sponsor
Jesus
speciali.
taught
Quindi
us
ringraziamo Mark Bass,
do
Mail e
operative
Amalgam
word.
Eco e Algame,
Not quote scripture.
nonché i nostri sponsor
Do.
abituali, senza i quali non potremmo
Now
fare questa
there are
splendida rassegna
times
di
where
concerti dal
Jesus
vivo. E quindi ancora una
quoted
volta
scripture,
ringraziamo
he would
Fender,
refer
Yamaha,
to the
Pearl,
Bible, of
Eco,
course.
RCF e Provel. Vi
But that's
ricordiamo
not
che
what he
tutti i
led
prodotti
with.
dei marchi che ho appena
You know,
nominato e 1000
I'm pretty
altri
sure if
sono
Jesus was here,
disponibili
that's
nelle
not what
parti
he
alle
would
spalle
do
del
with
palco, quindi
on
passate a
a,
trovarci. Siamo
on a
aperti dal
chat
martedì al sabato
in a
dalle
live.
9:30 alle 13, dalle
I'm
15:30 alle
really, I'm
19:30.
pretty sure.
E adesso ancora una volta
You
lascio
know,
il palco alla musica
so it's kind of like,
divina,
you know,
sopraffina di
as a
Julian
Christian, I can
Pollack
see how
Trio.
people take that offense. As a Christian, I can see how people could be offended by that. You know, people aren't going to listen to what you say until they know that you live by what you say. You know, and the only way you can really do that is, you know, now I've had conversations about religion online, you know, and I'm happy to say that the people who I've talked to, I've explained my stance on certain things, and I've broken them down to an understandable, non-judgmental level, to the point where they're like, wow, I've never heard a Christian explain it like that before, but that's my point. Like, you know, and that was really just in defense of the gospel. That was in defense of, well, if there's this, there's that, why, you know, and I would just answer the question. Not judgmental. Here are the facts. This is just what it is. This is what the Bible says. And unfortunately, and I'll even point out, unfortunately, people tend to do this instead of that because this is easier. You know? But there's another level of conquering your mind. Are you making your thoughts? You're taking your thoughts captive. Or are you walking out and looking at other people and thinking, they need Jesus? That's judgment. Yeah, well, all of us need Jesus. That's a general statement. So pointing one person out as opposed to another, you know, things like that. Little judgments that you have in your brain. Little snap judgments that you might assume to people. It's a battle of the mind. You know what I mean? When you see a pretty woman, are you doing double takes? It's a battle of the mind. You know? When you have a chance to cheat and no one's around, you take the opportunity. When you see an Asian guy, you know, and you're charged up all this political stuff, and, you know, oh, the Chinese, blah, 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 blah. You look at him funny because you're assuming he's Chinese, not realizing the Korean dude who's from Milwaukee. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, stupid stuff like that. Like, it's the judgment. It's the like how you look at people. It's your thoughts, your thought life. You know what I mean? You know, and that also includes what you're taking in. What's the stuff you're looking at? You looking at porn on the side? You looking at that kind of stuff? You lusting after women? You want to take it to Christianity? Let's take it there. Let's take it there. And I'm speaking on things that I've battled with personally. So I feel fair in addressing this. You know? Let's take it there. You know? Are you shacking up? You know? Are you shacking up? Let's take it there. Do you cheat on your taxes? That's simple. That's simple stuff. That's simple. You know? Even to the point of, okay, you cruising through a red light, you know they, hey, Bible says obey the law of the land. Let's take it there. You know? Another thing, after you deal with the battle of the mind, guess what you got to deal with another battle of? Battle of pride. You know? Do you think you're better than other people? Pride, hatred, all that stuff. You know? Do you really not hate people? You know, do you hold grudges? You know? Bible talks about, you know, God hates a prideful heart. You know? Bible says God confounds he confounds the thoughts of the proud. You know? Bible says God hates pride. How much pride you got in your heart? Let's go there. Since you could throw a scripture at me, let's go there. Let's go there, Randy. You know? Again, I've been at this for almost 30 years, man. Christianity. And if you want to count back to the 90s, when I just was doing nothing but studying the Bible, studying Christianity, you know, probably about 40 years. I know I look young. I'll be 60 next year. You know? That's a testament to the preservation of God. God preserved me. Trust me. I did a lot. But I say all this to say before you go on, I mean I understand Christianity and this is new to you. Before you go online and start commenting on stuff, work on your own life. And then you'll be surprised. You'll find the need to broadcast the fact that you're a Christian. You'll find that need less and less. You'll no longer need to do that. You'll be too busy living Christianity. You know what I mean? So, and people, you won't need to tell people. People will come up to you. The people you work with, the people you live with, your family members, they'll come up to you. That is your testament. But going online and, do you know Jesus? John 3:16? Nah, that don't work, bro.